1998. I'll never forget it. There was one thing I hoped for in life. My fat, meaty claws. I'll never forget that damn night. What was even worse was when we invaded the Arclay Mountains in search for the evil and twisted operations that Umbrella Corporation was dishing out. And we headed towards that mansion with a goal in mind, to uncover all the lies, the secrecy, and the vile, absolutely horrid nature that is the Umbrella Corporation. But our helicopter didn't make it all the way there. In a flash, a fleshy, long shaft smacked the tail of our helicopter, sending us in a spiral as we crashed and plummeted through the thick fall leaves and the giant twisting trees. Let me get back on the track. I'm starting to use the wrong words. We got smacked by a long, fleshy, hard shaft, and we crash landed in the Arclay Mountains. And I kicked the door off the hinges getting out of the helicopter, and I looked around. There was nothing in sight. The fall leaves dancing and twirling softly like feathers in the air, both from the crash and from the deadening cold air in the forest, and pine needles crunched under our feet, as did those fall leaves, as we marched slowly and cautiously through the mountains. And then we approached the mansion, and us four looked at the doors to the mansion, the main entrance, threatening to invite us into a mansion, a building, an infrastructure of horror. And then I once again kicked the doors off the hinges to the mansion and ran in. And my eyes did not deceive me when I looked on the ground and saw Barry Burton licking up the blood with his long tongue. I thought, oh shit. Barry, what are you doing? It's awful. And he looked at me with his blood-covered cheeks and said, "It's a blood sandwich." I remember when I went inside the Arclay mansion. You thought the invasion and the overrunning of Raccoon City was horrid. Well, feast your ears on this tale I'm about to dish out. As if Raccoon City was horrid enough, what was soon to follow in 3 years would be nothing short of an absolute nightmare. Bravo team had loaded up in one of our last remaining helicopters. We just simply couldn't afford any more, so we had one. It was falling apart, but it did its job. And we were flying towards the Arclay Mountains to uncover all that is Umbrella, the vile, twisted, evil, maleficent nature of their corporation. Covering up what they were really doing with lies, with pharmaceutical sales that were nothing short of a cover-up to hide the truth, to hide the fact that they were testing the T-virus, that they were developing viruses and weapons, bio-weapons, to take over, starting at towns and then spreading to cities and then states and then the world. Our helicopter flew over the Arclay Mountains, but some sort of long, hard, fleshy shaft that I saw pass by my view real quickly. I need to restart. Hold on. As if Raccoon City was horrible enough, what was soon to follow, a short 3 years later, would be just as, if not worse, than Raccoon City. I remember that day like it was yesterday. Like some sort of event had happened that was so terrible that just singed it into my brain. Well, that's actually what happened. Anyway, what was soon to follow, 3 years after Raccoon City, was nothing short of a nightmare. The Arclay Mansion incident. Bravo team and I had headed into our last remaining helicopter, and we flew to the Arclay Mountains. It was our last remaining helicopter because we couldn't afford any more. It was 2001 at the time. Things were tough. But we were flying towards the Arclay Mountains. Sorry about the squeaking. I'm in my rocking chair reliving this horror. As we flew to the Arclay Mountains, we only got about a third of the way over when suddenly a long, hard, flesh-toned shaft knocked us out of the sky, smacking our tail, breaking the tail rotors on the helicopter and sending us plummeting into the forest. We crashed through the thick trees, and then we crash-landed and slid across the ground about an extra 100 feet. The pine needles and the fall leaves spewing about as we slid to a stop, mud dripping and sludged underneath the helicopter from where we had landed. But I would hardly call that a landing. I kicked the helicopter doors off its hinges, and we crawled out. I don't know why we crawled out, but we all crawled. And as I stood up, I looked up into the air and saw the fall leaves dancing through the air like feathers, touching down by our boots softly. We crunched our way to the Arclay Mansion, but little did we know it was... Let me restart again. As if the Arclay... I fucked it up again. Damn it. As if the overrunning of Raccoon City could get any worse, what was soon to follow, well, that was... Gosh damn it. God! Oh, man. I need a sip of this pint of whiskey I'm drinking. As if Raccoon City being overrun wasn't bad enough, what was soon to follow, 3 short years later, would be nothing short of a nightmare. It was, or if not worse, than what happened in Raccoon City on that dreaded night. Bravo team and I had gotten into a helicopter and we made headway towards the Arclay Mountains. Little did we know, that night and the following day would be filled with nothing but horror, blood, gore, and traumatizing events. Ugh. I remember it like it was yesterday. Just like Raccoon City being singed into my brain, this event was soon to be stamped into my head permanently as well. We flew over the Arclay Mountains, but soon... Not long after takeoff, a hard, fleshy, giant, thick, girthy shaft smacked us out of the air. I don't know what it was, but it was flesh-colored and hard. And our helicopter crash-landed into the Arclay Mountains, sending fall leaves and pine needles that had fallen from the holy shit, that fart stinks. Our helicopter slid to a stop, and I kicked the doors off the hinges. And then we crawled out of the helicopter and made way to the Arclay Mansion. And then I kicked those doors off the hinges as well, and we walked inside, and what my eyes had birthed to my brain was nothing but a nightmare. Barry Burton, with his pants dropped slightly below his ankles, was bent down licking fresh blood off of the tiles. And he looked at me with his tongue as it slithered back into his mouth, and he said to me with one lip movement, "It's a blood sandwich." much. There were no zombies or anything in the mansion. It was just Barry that had scared the absolute shit out of us all.